Welcome back. Today in the studio, we've got Alicia Trevino of Alicia Trevino, Century 21. She has offices in Mesquite and in Uptown Dallas, and she's a real expert, part of our team here at Real Talk Texas. And Alicia, in the last segment, we talked just about the total market and what's been going on there. I talked a little bit about the mortgage and rates going up the way they have and what that really impacts. And what I want our listeners to know is that for every $100,000 that you have loaned, for every 1% increase in rate, that only equates to $57.65 a month. So don't get hung up too much on the rate thing. Yeah, it really, I was taught in 1999 when I got into business, don't sell rate, sell monthly payment. And really that's what it comes down to, is how much a month am I paying? And so when you get too hung up on the rate thing, you kind of miss the whole picture. What do you want to spend a month? What are you spending on rent right now? You don't ask what rate that's at. How much are you spending on your housing costs, and what do you want to go going forward? So every 1% for 100,000 is $57.65. So don't get too hung up on that. Alicia, we're talking about people selling their houses and getting ready to sell their houses, and that there's not enough inventory out there. It seems to me that you would be contacting your agents and saying, hey, let's go back to some of the people we put in homes. Let's see where their pulse is. We have a lot of people moving into the Metroplex. What are you coaching people, your staff?
You know what? That's a really timely question, because exactly that's what I'm doing. I'm bringing in my agents. We're talking about what do we need to do to get more houses on the market. So basically, we talked to people 2 years ago and said, you are getting the best deal. It's going to go up. This is just a stepping stone. We had so many renters who didn't want to put a lot of money down, or didn't have any money, actually. They were the whole economy was just down. Nobody had any money. So they got into a house that maybe they didn't really want to be in. And we told them this is a stepping stone to the next one. So I'm going to give you an example that's a true blue example. They got into a house for 3.5% down. They bought it at around $90,000. And right now, that same house that we sold them for $90,000 is easily worth about $140,000. So now they can sell this house 2 years later, walk away with easily $25,000 equity, and go buy the new home that they wanted, go conventional, and basically have the same rate like we were talking about because of mortgage insurance premium.
Right.
So It is the right time for those folks that said, this isn't what I really want. Now it's the time to buy your dream home. And you've done it in such a smart way. Or you can keep the house as an investment property, which we also talked about, and use it to build your wealth. So this is the time to get off the fence, get into the game, and go and buy a property.
Well, and I always talk about your mortgage and real estate. A lot of people, they think their only investments are what's in their stock account. And what you really miss is one of your biggest investments you have is in your housing. If you own a home, then that is a big part of your money and what you're doing with it. And it's just like a stock where you've got money, it's worth X. And then when the market moves, you got to be smart. They always say, if I listen to the financial advisors I've had on the show, they're saying, don't just put your money in and forget about it. I think it's the same in real estate. You got to be savvy, and you got to think about, okay, right now you gave a great example. Those clients are crazy not to sell their house and move up to the next one, because they can take advantage of a window where they bought right with your advice. Now they're ready to sell, and hopefully they'll take your advice again and move on to the next thing and improve their situation. And you hit on a great point with the mortgage insurance. A lot of times, 1% in rate difference on a loan that has mortgage insurance versus one that does not have mortgage insurance, it's the same payment.
Right.
It really doesn't matter what the rate is, because you're saving so much on the mortgage insurance part of it.
And if they decide to buy a new home, they're also having the savings on just the utility bills, because they're built so much greener now that they save energy. And so you're going to even out. You'd be surprised. People are so stunned at, number one, what they can buy new and what the utilities are and what the difference in their payment. There's very little difference in their payment because they're putting a large down payment down. So it is definitely a time to do this. And I hope that there are people out there there who have thought, well, maybe I can sell, because it's almost unheard of. In the state of Texas, to be able to sell your home and make a large amount of money in 2 years is unheard of. So
yeah, because
jump
our
on
market
it.
really doesn't go up like this. And
It
this is an anomaly,
doesn't.
folks. I really think it is. For our housing market to bounce back, I mean, it's like a rubber band snapping back
Right.
to values of 2007, 2008 versus, right now. It's amazing. If you're listening and you're thinking, I don't know if I want to sell or not, I highly, highly recommend you pick up your cell phone right now, put in this number, put in 817-925-2546. That's 817-925-2546, and just put in the word sell, and I'll put you in touch with Alicia and her team, and they'll come out and give you a free analysis, right? You don't charge to
Absolutely.
do that?
You know what? We don't charge anything to do that. You can talk to us over the phone. We can actually run some preliminary numbers over the phone for you. I'd be happy to do that. To get to the exact number, we'd have to come and visit you, but you can get a ballpoint as to where you are figure. And so I'd be more than happy to do that personally for them if they call me today. Yeah.
All right.
Absolutely.
And the other part is, if you're concerned about whether or not you can get finance for the next step, make sure you put in there, either way, we're going to talk to you about that and say, have you been pre-qualified to go forward? Do you have any special things that have happened in the last few years? We can talk a little bit about affiliated bank and the Make Sense mortgage that we have, which really gives us a competitive edge. When you call our office we can probably do a loan I know we can do a loan that a lot of people cannot do because we have our own money that we lend out based on our own rules. And if it really makes sense, if you're a self-employed borrower, great example there. We had an attorney that got promoted to partner, and this is where this mortgage business drives me crazy sometimes. You got a guy that's been an attorney, worked for the same firm for years. He made a promotion to partner. Now he's a 1099 employee, not W-2, and he's got to wait 2 years to get a loan based on the guidelines, and it just doesn't make sense. And we looked at that loan and we did that loan because it made sense to us. So there's a lot of things we can do that are unique and special at Affiliated Bank. And so you need to reach out to my office and call me about that. And so, again, the number is 817-925-2546. That's 817-925-2546. Just send a text to the show, buy or sell. We've got people here that'll help you on Real Talk Texas. So, Alicia, on the seller's market, as far as how fast homes sell and things like that, and I know you've talked about it on the show before, but for listeners that may not have heard that, what are the things that you do that help your clients sell their homes faster? How do you do it?
You know what? It's a case-by-case basis, but right now, for a long time I was like, let's just go ahead and sell it as is. You don't want to make any improvements. But today, it is making an enormous difference. So you really do need to work with an expert who has an eye for what you need to do. Paint, carpet can go a long way. And you want to get advice as to the color of paint because, I had someone who I'm selling their home, and I didn't do it. He knew that I was going to tell him to paint it, so he hired someone to do it. And it is just the most brightest touch of yellow that you've ever seen. So you have to be careful when we say paint and carpet that you also pick the right color. So one of the things I think that's very important is you do have to have the right color palette for the particular home, and that's going to depend on where you are too. In different areas, there are different color palettes. So
Really?
if you're in the suburbs, you have one style of home, and then if you're in town, then there's another style of home that appeals and sells a lot faster. So you definitely want to work with a realtor who understands that. But today, fixing up your home to sell is going to give you top dollar in many, many cases.
And I think it's so smart that you do that because I'm in the market to look for a home. Dana and I are going to start looking in the next 6 months to really kind of get a feel for things. I have a little bit of vision, but Dana actually has no vision, and she will tell you that. She hates that about herself, that she can't walk in and see what it's going to look like when it's changed over. And last show we had David Rosenbaum on the show, and he was talking about how they go in with realtors, and they'll go in and with their client and say, okay, with this house, if you spent $20,000, you would be able to change out this, and this, and he can give them a visual of what it would look like. Now, that would be extremely helpful for us because I'm I mean, we can't really see that. We're going to talk about that on the next segment about buying with vision and what that really means and how to do that and how you help them, Alicia, get there when they first looking for a house. And there are a lot of homes in the Metroplex that are outdated. They're cluttered. When you walk in, it's just those are the ones that are sitting on the market, I would think, and not selling, right?
Yes. Well, actually, they're not sitting on the market, but they're not selling for top dollar.
Okay, so
that's
they're
really
reducing
the
their
difference.
price,
They're
so
having
they're
to
losing
reduce
money.
the price when actually they can change something up and go ahead and get a much better value if they just switched it out.
You're listening to Real Talk Texas. If you're thinking about buying or selling a house, make sure you pick up your cell phone, 817-925-2546. That's 817-925-2546. Just send a text, buy or sell, and we'll get the right people in touch with you to make sure that you can be prepared to go the next step. Make sure you sell your house for top dollar, and make sure you're buying right with vision. So we're going to talk about that in the next segment. You're listening to KLIF AM 570 News and Information. It's a Real Talk Texas show.